All right, so we're going to solve the inequality and express the answer in interval notation and then graph the solution set. So we've got three things to do. We're going to have to solve the inequality. Why isn't that bigger? Let's make it bigger. There we go. And then 2, we're going to express the answer in interval notation. And 3, we're going to graph the solution set. Okay, now I know you guys told me that you always like to get the x on the left side of the inequality, so that's what I'm going to do, which means I'm going to get rid of the variable, which is the 9x on the right side, and I'm going to subtract 9x to cancel it out. But that means I have to subtract 9x on the left side. Now, 8x take away 9x is a negative 1x. And then I'm going to add the 2 to both sides so that 2 cancels out here. I'm kind of running out of room here and I don't want to get in the way of my number line. So I'll have a negative 1x is greater than or equal to 3. And then the last step is to divide off the negative 1. A negative 1 over a negative 1 cancels to be a positive 1x. But you have to remember, right here, when you divide by a negative number, your inequality, which was greater than or equal to, has to reverse to less than or equal to. And 3 divided by negative 1 is a negative 3. And it's kind of weird. I'll just show numbers with it here, but let's say you have 8 is greater than 6, which is a true statement. If I divide both sides by 2, I get 4 is greater than 3, which is still a true statement. But if you divide both sides by negative 2, 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. Negative 4 is not greater than negative 3. It's smaller because the more negative you are, the smaller you are. Those are words to live by. So you have to remember, to make this a true statement, the greater than sign has to be flipped over to the less than sign. And so you can see it here because those are numbers. Over in our problem, we have an x, so you don't notice it. You're like, it's an x, it's a number. If you checked your answers, like if you picked, we get this answer. That's the solving of the inequality. So I guess that should be my answer in green, right? I solved the inequality. If you pick some number less than negative 3, like negative 4 or negative 5 or negative 6, and you plugged it into the equation, when you do the left side and then you do the right side, the left side should end up being greater than the right side because the original problem had a greater than sign in it. So now the second thing is to express the answer in interval notation. Since x is, let's switch this to a smaller, there we go. Since x is less than or equal to negative 3, we're actually starting down at negative infinity. And then you will come up to the negative 3. And then, because it's an equal to here, you want to include the negative 3. And this is what it would look like in interval notation. So that's my answer for interval notation, from negative infinity up to negative 3, and then include the 3. And then you go over to the number line and just pick a number. Here, that's negative 3, so negative 4, negative 5. Here would be negative 6. Here would be 0. Here would be 3. And then I am gonna, since I highlighted it in blue, I'm gonna graph it in blue. Okay. You go to the negative 3. You put a bracket on it because there's a bracket right here in the interval. That'll be the same symbol on the number line. And then you want to highlight the number line going to the left, which is the less than direction, because way down here somewhere is where negative infinity would be located. And that is what it would look like on a graph. So the hardest part of this whole thing is remembering that, oh, I just divided by a negative number, which affects the inequality sign. So I have to flip it over. And then the second hardest part is trying people to remember the difference between this one and that one. And I taught my children the difference between less than and greater than the same way I taught them between the left and their right hand. And I am not an artist by any means. That's supposed to be a hand. 4 fingers and a thumb, right? But I meant to do it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. If they hold their thumb out like that, this is supposed to look like an L. And less than starts with an L. That's their left hand. And they're holding their hands as if they have a ring on their finger right here. It's not palm up, it's palm down. And so when you look at the less than symbol, it looks like an L that's just been smushed. Okay, and it's the same symbol on a Lexus, right? That looks like a Lexus symbol, which is another L word. So anyway, there you go. And that's number 29.